Jason,
Hey,
how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. This is like a crazy impromptu
Good
live
one.
live
Yeah, I love
sesh.
it.
I love it.
Loving it.
We were going to do like um, a pre-recorded podcast, but we thought, why not go live?
Yeah, just dropped in the live word, and I thought, all right, let's just give that a go.
Amazing, amazing. So I guess for those that don't know, we've known each other since we were like 10 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe it. It's like we're almost 40 now, right? It's like
I know.
ages catching up with us. So yeah, a good 30 years. Incredible.
30. Wow. So, and you're now at Facebook, which is really cool. So we'll talk about that. And you've had a great like career journey, which we're really keen to talk about. And then we'll talk about networks, communities, and all of that stuff. So where are you at the moment then?
So in Singapore, yeah, just kind of in the heart of Asia, living it up here. So yeah, it's been pretty good.
Nice.
So, been here for about 6 years now.
Okay. And when did
Yeah.
you move to Facebook?
Only about 6, 7 months ago, so pretty recent. Yeah, yeah,
Cool. Going well?
yeah. It's good. Great company. Yeah, fantastic kind of culture, and they really look after us. So very happy to be
Great.
there.
And you organised the advertising week JPAC for Facebook.
Yeah, yeah. You might have seen that. So yeah, I think you checked out a couple of sessions. So that was
Yeah.
yeah, really cool. Thanks for supporting that.
No pleasure.
Yeah, massive conference, but yeah, really well done. So to the team over there. So really happy with that.
That's really good. That's really good. So, should we talk about let's talk about Watford Grammar? I think because
Yeah, sure.
it's a nice place to start. And so we both started there in you're going to correct 1992.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, and I thought it was a great spot. So it was a grammar school. And I guess for those that don't know, grammar schools are funded by the government, or they were, but you had to do an exam. But I think for us, we were the last year that we didn't have to do an exam.
Yeah, luckily.
How did you enjoy the time there?
Yeah, I think it was pretty interesting. I think that was a long time ago, so I don't remember all of it. But yeah, I kind of have fond memories of doing random things and
Yeah,
like playing sports. I think I was in the chess club. Yeah, it's just science class. Always remember science class because I always kind of like took that route. So that was always interesting. And then
yeah,
I think we got up to some antics as well. I don't know
we
if it's
got some fun.
appropriate appropriate to share.
No, but what you learn in the playground sticks with you for life.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so what was your path after? You went to do chemistry?
So yeah, so for my A levels, I did like chemistry, biology, maths, I think, and then I went straight into the vet school. So I'm a veterinarian by training, which is kind of different from what I do now. But yeah, I was a vet for about 6 years, mostly in the UK and a little bit in Australia as well. As you can see, I have a
Yeah.
bit of weird accent. You can hear a bit of like Australian British going on, so bit confused.
So when did you go over to Australia?
So that was probably around 2008 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, so initially on a working holiday visa and just really loved it. So just ended up transferring to a student visa, doing an MBA and a Masters of Marketing at Melbourne Business School. And then, yeah, it kind of took me on a different path, really. So just kind of got out of the vet field and all clinical practice and then just did other stuff. So pretty cool.
And did you ever come back to the UK once you were in Australia? That was
Yeah, no, just for like to visit family and friends and stuff. I know we had a catch up when I was in London last time, so
yeah,
not really. Yeah, I haven't kind of lived in the UK properly since moving away.
yeah. And why did you get out of being a vet? So you trained for what, like 7, 8 years
Yeah,
or whatever?
yeah, yeah. 5 years, 5 years. So I loved it. I loved seeing animals every day and just helping and just I think animals are kind of like a vulnerable part of society because they can't really like speak up and in some circumstances and these animal charities do a fantastic job, so kudos to everyone who's working in an animal charity. Yeah, so I think for me, I've always wanted to kind of create a bigger impact and make a bigger difference in the world. So vet was fantastic, but it
Yeah.
got a little bit routine. So I was doing like
Right.
lots of vaccinations and sprays and neuters all day, every day. So I kind of wanted to make a bigger impact in the world and try to create some difference, I guess. So that went off and did some other stuff in order to get there.
Fine. And then, so what prompted the move away from being a vet?
Yeah, well, I think it was a bit of push and pull. So, like I said, it was like wanting aspirations to do something a bit bigger in the world. But
Yeah.
also, I think vet life, as all the vets out there will know, is quite tough. So working like 12 to 14-hour days on your feet all day, doing this like high intensity surgeries and life and death situations, and working weekends and on call. Doing 24-hour shifts sometimes and stuff like that as well. So it was pretty high pressure. So I guess that was like one of the factors. But I think overarchingly, it was just more that I wanted to help more in society and help more people, help more animals.
Awesome. So did you go straight? You went to Expedia after that?
Yeah, a bit of a journey. So actually, after my MBA and Master Marketing, I went to strategy consulting. So people, I think the consulting company is actually the one that I joined liked that I was from a kind of unconventional background.
Yeah.
So typically, I think consultants, as you know, in your field, recruiting consultants is mostly like from economics or finance type backgrounds. So people tend to think along those lines, but I come from like a very kind of different and unconventional background, so I think they liked the diversity. I think diversity obviously like a big subject at the moment as well,
Yes.
and always has been. So I think it was quite important for them. And then actually went to work for Mars, so the global FMCG CPG company in the pet care division. So they own brands like Pedigree, Whiskers, and all that kind of stuff. And then they own some like high-end brands as well. So I was working on the high-end brands there. Then I got recruited for a job in Singapore with Hills Pet Nutrition, which is part of Colgate Palmolive. So Colgate, the toothpaste company, actually owns the pet food brand, which is a little bit random, but like a lot of these CPG companies actually own pet food brands and other different brands as well. So that was pretty cool. Then to your point, so joined Expedia after that. So I was initially in the strategy team, which is fantastic, just learning a lot there, in-house consulting type work, before moving on to a CSR role, so corporate social responsibility and social impact, looking after that function for APAC, which is really, really amazing.
Nice. And then Facebook poached you.
Yeah, well, yeah. So yeah, I got kind of like.
So they send you a little Facebook message, being like.
It's on LinkedIn message.
They say a LinkedIn message.
Yeah, so the recruiter just pinged me on LinkedIn and said, "Oh, would you be interested in this role?" So similar to like, I guess how you guys do it. So I think most of my roles have been tapped on the shoulder and said, "Oh, are you interested in this?" and having a conversation. Yeah.
What attracted you to Facebook?
I think it's I mean the fantastic work that we do here. So it's like very community focused. So everything we do is just trying to build up community and serve the community. So I think that's something that speaks close, or is very close to my heart. So yeah,
that's really cool. We spoke about that. We spoke about last week. Just how lucky that you and I feel, certainly, about the network that I've managed to build from school, university. Like, I think if for me, certainly, we've got a nice cool branding now on our thing. Thanks. But yeah, like I think back to like I've had an interesting journey too. Like, so I had chemistry at university. I set up a fashion distribution company. I worked in fashion and manufacturing recruitment. I set up my own search firm, exec coaching. So it's been like quite an interesting thing. And the theme for me has always been about the networking and how powerful your network can be. And even from school, like I think we were really lucky personally to have been able to have gone to a school like that, where there was a real mix of people. I think it was in Watford, which is has a real mix of people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. I thought, also quite diverse in terms of where people were from and where their families are from. And so I think, and for me, I got quite a nice, exposed to different people, and those people have gone on to do different things. But yeah, I felt like, I got some good stuff from that place. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right, and we've talked about this previously. Like, I think we're very lucky to be in the position we are. So we come from like wholesome families and loving parents and like siblings and everything like that. So it's kind of that kind of structure has always been very stable. And then our parents like help pay for our education. Like it's quite common in the UK, and I know some people have part-time jobs to help fund their fees and that kind of stuff. But I think we come from like a working middle class type background where we're lucky enough that our parents, who probably like, actually, I don't know about your parents, and we haven't really talked about this, but like my parents came from pretty much nothing. So like my mom used to sleep with her 4 sisters on the floor in Malaysia when she was growing up in this like shop house. And my dad was like one of 8, and they just like really had nothing when they were growing up, and then came to the UK to for a better life, and just kind of made something of themselves, and just worked hard like a lot of immigrants do. Yeah, and just kind of just worked their way up, and then eventually raised me and my brother, my brother and I, and then we were lucky enough to kind of be in that environment. Yeah, and I think like we talked about previously as well, like it's having university education and access to the networks and people within that kind of network has been really powerful for me, and I think for a lot of people as well. So I don't think I could be here today without kind of the people surrounding us. So there's actually very few people I actually keep in touch with from Watford days. But I think these is like kind of like you're obviously one of the most important people from that back then. And then yeah, just kind of building on that network through like university, and then through like the MBA and things like that. And MBAs pride themselves on like the network, so
yeah,
that's been really powerful.
yeah. We've got one question from Facebook, from Lauren. So let's
Okay.
address that, and then let's talk.
Cool. Let's go,
I want
Lauren.
to talk more a little bit about parents and background and stuff, because I do think it has a really big impact. So Lauren wants to know, who has been the most influential person on your career? Someone maybe you met as part of your network.
Yeah. Oh, deep question.
Very deep, very deep. If you don't know right now, you can ponder it.
Right, thanks for the question, Lauren. Yeah, I don't know if there's like one single person. So I think the beauty and the power of community and network is that several people kind of touch you at different points in your life. So I think it's yeah, probably. I mean, there's probably a couple of people who kind of like guided me or given me a chance. So like previous managers or hiring managers, like a bit of an unconventional background, and then just giving me a chance. So I definitely appreciate that. And then yeah, I guess like family has always been important. So I think they've always been really supportive, and
Yeah,
I probably don't show that enough. Being kind of like away from home and just so far away, and it's kind of a bit difficult. But
yeah.
yeah, I do definitely appreciate the family side of things.
That's a really good point. I think it definitely takes if people, line managers, hiring managers, whatever, to give people an opportunity. Almost like sending the elevator back down or whatever, but trying to like help people up. Because the other thing is, you find that you find sometimes like people don't want to speak about their background, whether they're, I don't know, embarrassed about where they've come from or whatever. But what you find is that a lot of people, they don't really care in a nice sense of the word. Like if you come
Yeah,
across well, you can do the job, you're well skilled, and those kind of things, you're motivated, you're keen to learn. It is amazing how many people will give you the opportunity. I always found it fascinating. But for my background, my parents also were both immigrants. So my dad came from Egypt, and I mean they lived in Hackney in 1 bedroom. My mum came from South Africa, so different background. But I think also, and we're Jewish, and so I think for me, like the history and the fact that my family over the centuries have moved around a lot and stuff, it gives you and it gives you a certain mindset. You know, maybe it's the reason I wanted to do my own business. Maybe it's the reason I feel really motivated and keen to like build and do stuff. So I think your personal story has a really big impact on what you end up doing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really admire what you've done as well. Like starting a few of your own businesses, like just having the courage to do that is not easy. Especially in kind of like hard economic times, right? So it's without kind of like the capital and the economy. When the economy is doing well, then everything's great. But then like during these kind of times, it's often challenging.
It's been challenging, but you know, I'd argue almost that like this is the best time to set up a business, because you know, if you're thinking about setting up a business and you think it's the right life for you, you know, like everything's cheaper now. You know, rents are probably going to go down. You don't even need an office, but it's just like, you know, it's just a good time. I set up in the recession, so I set up 10 years ago, and you know, it's a good time to get everything really strong, like your processes, your customer service, your products. You know, it's just a good moment to really get everything going, because you know, after every down there's an up, and things probably can't get too much worse right now. You know, like it's widely regarded as the worst economy that we've certainly ever lived in. Some companies are doing well, others aren't doing so well. Different industries are affected differently. But yeah, I think a lot of the time, you know, it's just taking the plunge, you know, like actually doing it. Because a lot of people overthink these things. You know, they're planning, they overplan, you know, but so a lot of the time it's just actually doing it. So if you want to do your own business, I would encourage you to do it now. But now it's been tough now. I mean, you know, like with COVID and everything, it's been one of the most difficult moments I think that I've had running a business. And so it's a good learning experience. You know, you really learn to like look at different elements of your business, what's working well, what's not, what can you improve, you know, managing cost, focusing on content. You know, like we've really done a lot of content, and a lot of the speakers in the advertising week conference they were talking. I mean, like for me, these last few years, it's all about great content, like not selling, and just giving the audience really interesting content, and that's been the focus for me, I think.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned previously as well, like you're just focusing on people. Because I know you've got a small team there, but you really look after them, and you've been very lucky not to have to like let people go during this time. But I know a lot of businesses have. So
I mean, it's a tricky time. You wanna. It's hard to build a good team. It's a bit of a cliche, right? I mean, like it's hard to find good people. I think they're all listening, so. But yeah, you know, like you've got to keep the people at the heart of the organization, because people make up a company. Company is just a collection of people. And and it's, you know, it's good. It's more fun. You find some good people. You build up a good environment, a good culture. You know, people enjoy working, and it moves from there. And now it's been interesting because you used to be able to like see someone face to face, and now, you know, we're doing video. And if I'm honest, I think everyone's finding the video calls quite draining now. You know, like a lot of Zooms, we do Google, sorry, Facebook, we do WhatsApp too. But you know, I think they're quite, I don't know what it is. I don't know how you find them, but I feel quite tired after too many video calls.
Yeah, very, very, similar kind of sentiment as well. Like some days I'm on video calls for like 6 or 7 hours or something like that, and it's just very difficult to kind of stay alert and not get distracted by like an email ping coming in or something else. So it's pretty draining. It's just your eyes are just tired, I guess. Like you're just kind of in front of the computer all the time.
Yeah, but also you have to look at you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like it's a bit weird if I start like looking around and like wandering around just for a walk or something.
Yeah,
But the really nice thing about a phone call is that I could just wander.
Yeah. Can walk
And I
around.
love just wandering around and talking. So I've learned, like, you know, it's a different skill. It's a different skill. I mean, we have obviously run a search firm, so we have been, the interview processes have been continuing on video, and so the world's, you know, it's going that way. It's got a big, like, the work from home, video conferencing's got like a massive shot in the arm, obviously. So it's interesting. I mean, it's been a fun time, if I can say that.
It's good.
So I guess on that, and maybe we can talk about, because there's the negative side of, obviously, of all this is, unfortunately, there's people losing their jobs. We have furlough in the UK, so the government have been paying for salaries, and that's going to start to come down, and we might well see more people lose their jobs. And I've been really talking about the importance of staying connected to people, so friends and colleagues, and it links in well with you know, with the networking and stuff. How have you been doing that? Have you you've obviously done a lot of different things. Have you like made a point of staying connected with people over this time?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, maybe like a broader view on networks is just that I think it like integral or really important for everyone to have a network and a community, but kind of all times, but especially kind of during this time. So everyone's kind of going through a lot of different things and different emotions, and you've got to kind of like respect that, and have empathy for like people's different kind of lives and their like living situations, having kids at home or elderly parents who are kind of more vulnerable and that kind of stuff. So I think it's important to have a support network. I think like there's a couple of things there. So community has obviously a number of definitions. So community, like traditionally, when you think about community impact, it could be like helping out developing countries and small villages in kind of these surrounding countries where they just don't really have anything, and just trying to build up those communities. But community in like, I guess, a professional context is just having someone or a network of people that you can like tap on the shoulder and just have a conversation with. So yeah, I tend to kind of like just try to keep in touch with people anyway, and just even a short message and just say hi, how, just checking in. Well, I think like the most important thing for me is just like just being genuine and authentic. And it's a bit, like you said, it's a bit of a cliche, but you can't just, and I get this all the time, like people just ping me on LinkedIn and say, oh, can I have a job? Like, it's probably not appropriate, right? And I think they see like, oh yeah, you're working at this cool company, I want to work there as well. And like some people just copy and paste as well, which is not cool at all. So you can see like it just says hi there, or like hi, comma, and then like yeah, that's obviously copied and paste. So I just probably just like advise anyone who's looking for a job, just first of all, just build a network and just be a genuine person, be a nice person, just keep in touch with people and just have real conversations. And then if you're gonna cold call someone, then, or cold email someone, then at least kind of read their profile and make a comment on something. So you should say, oh yeah, so I've noticed that you're working blah blah blah. You worked on this project that's really cool. Would love to hear a bit more, something like that. It's like, and I use the analogy like dating. So when you're on like a dating app or something like that, so you don't just kind of like just say hi and then, or copy and paste, right? Because that's just like really really not cool.
No.
Then say, oh yeah, so that's a really nice picture. Did you go travel to blah 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 or something, right? So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It's funny. There's so many unwritten rules, right? I mean, I spoke to someone like you. If you're sending a connection to someone on LinkedIn, like, write a nice message.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You speak to other people, and they're like, you know, I'll connect with anyone, something like that.
Yeah.
And then some people will only connect with you on LinkedIn if they know you or they've met you face to face. Others are open networkers, let's say, who connect with anyone. But yeah, I think looking for a job, as you said, I mean, if someone's approaching you, yeah, like that their dating analogy is perfect. You know, like, hey Jason, really interested in your, you know, in your prior career as a vet. I'd love to know how you got out of that, got out of it and became,
Right.
into marketing and Facebook or whatever. Like it's the little personal things. And the other thing is also, you can only become friends with someone if you spend time with someone.
Yeah.
This is the other thing. Like we know each other so well because we spent like every day together during school. Now, we obviously have not been seeing each other nearly as much after, but you still, I don't know about you, but I still feel like I know you well. You never lose that connection. Like we grew up together. Like the way we changed from 10 to 18, you just, so I think for me with networking, whether it's like professionally or social media obviously has enabled us certainly to stay in touch and to see what we've been up to, even though we're in different continents. We can still stay in touch with each other and see what's going on in each of our lives, which I think is really good. But for finding a job, I completely agree. Like, think about the approach. Don't use, I think LinkedIn have an auto apply option for jobs.
Oh yeah.
So, and I spoke about this yesterday. It's just, like recruiters get inundated with maybe, I don't know, thousands of applications. And if your application isn't personalized and stuff, it's difficult. I mean, so I think about it, pause, think about, what you share in common with someone. Whether it's you've maybe worked in a similar firm, you've got someone in common, you went to the same uni, school, city, whatever, like some kind of commonality to make a connection. And then I think it goes more. We've had a couple of questions actually. So Kiko Ono loves this stream, thank you. And Mitchell Cripps, absolutely agree with your views on making reach out personable and relatable, guys. Thank you. So I think if you're looking for a job now, maybe a key takeaway is, think what you have in common with someone, so then you can make the approach personable. And I would also,
just to build on that, I mean, like having a friend introduce you, so making it personable, that just even makes it more powerful, right? So a lot of friends kind of approach me and say, I've got a friend who's interested in this or that. Would you mind having a little chat? And it's always like just like half an hour on the phone or like over video chat, right? So it's pretty easy. It's just like half an hour of your time, and it can make the world of difference for someone. So I think, like we talked about, like we're so lucky to be where we are, having the education and the stability of a job and your own business, in your case, that I think it's our responsibility to kind of give back in whatever way we can, whether that be through our networks and just helping someone find a job during this time, or if you want to kind of dedicate yourself to doing some charity work or going out to developing countries and going into that community and helping there. So we're living in like London and Singapore, like some of the richest cities in the world, and there's so much wealth. It's just kind of these huge buildings and financial hubs and stuff. So I think it's, as good human beings, it's just like our responsibility to give back to society in some way.
Definitely. And for those, I would also say, for those that need some help, please ask, because I think it's always quite hard to ask for help from people. But I think, as you've alluded to, what you'll find is so many people who are willing to help. Like you just ask people, can you help me? I really love your advice on XYZ, or, please can you help me connect with Jason? I'd love to speak to him about something. And like, I think you'd be surprised how many people are willing to help if you ask. So I would do that. And then just the other point on networking is, and I know this is easy to kind of to let slip when you're in a job, but really I would try and stay connected to people that you've worked with previously, your friends, use social media, drop them a note saying how you're doing, like really like spend some time doing it. Like an hour a day, an hour a week, even just to drop notes to people. Because it's nice. Like it's nice to check in. Like I spent the first few weeks just checking in with people that I know through work, personally, how you doing, just wanted to find out how everyone was feeling and stuff. And so many people got back and were like, thank you so much, I'm feeling, so people appreciate that. So I think it works both ways, like give, kind of give without expecting anything back, and be kind to people, I think is a nice way to go about it.
Yeah, I think like this is how we kind of reconnected, right? So I think there was maybe a decade where we didn't weren't connected, and then through the power of social media, and I think I checked in on somewhere in London, and then you pinged me or something, right, and saying, "Oh, just around the corner, let's catch up." So that was very cool. I think just like random things like that, just like random connections where you kind of see someone's doing something, just provide a comment or supporting comment, then that's always really nice. And I think you're amazing at doing this, just keeping in touch with people and just like pinging people just to check in. So I really appreciate that you've done that.
And you are too. I mean, you're active, right? I mean, because you've been doing a lot of traveling over the years, right? And you share your pictures on your Facebook and stuff, and so you've built up an amazing network of people,
Yeah.
And
So
it's great.
some people would say that like I think I've got like 7,500 connections on LinkedIn, and I don't even know in the context of things that's a lot of people or not. So
you were a power LinkedIn profile in Asia, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know what that's like an impact. Social impact, like power profile. Yeah. So I think that was just because I was posting too much or something, and just someone from LinkedIn just picked it up. So,
that's probably quite a good thing. This is the other thing I get asked a lot, and I'm definitely no expert at this whatsoever, but like what should you post? Like, how do you go about? Because the other great thing with, say, LinkedIn, and I think my alarm's going off. Hold on. The other thing with LinkedIn is, LinkedIn's maybe arguably Facebook now, like maybe 5 years ago, but it's turning into. I think it feels like it's turning into something like that. And for work and for networking, a lot of people are using it more now. How do you decide what to post?
Yeah,
Like,
there's different channels for different things, and you kind of see like there was a recent thing like people had like this is your Facebook profile, this is your Instagram profile, this is your LinkedIn profile or something, right? So there's like these 4 quadrants. So there's kind of different audiences in this, like probably classic marketing, right? So your different channels for different kind of purposes. So Facebook for me is very personal. So I only really share travel photos and that kind of stuff, or check-ins and stuff on Facebook. Instagram, my profile's open, so I take a lot of photos when I'm traveling and just like kind of share that random stuff. And I don't really post photos of people or family on there, so I think because it's an open profile. So I think that's kind of just like keep that to myself. To your point now, LinkedIn is becoming like much more of a social kind of platform as well, like with the feeds and connections as well. So I think for me, LinkedIn is much more professional, and I post anything kind of work related. So I was posting a lot of like when we were doing these kind of social impact and community impact trips to developing countries and helping out these local communities. Posting that kind of stuff is like I do it not just to kind of showcase the work, but it's more to help partially inspire people to do something similar. And even if you don't go travel to this country, like if you go to Cambodia or like Tibet or like to Laos or somewhere like that, that's really fantastic just to help out local community. But it often doesn't drive real impact because you're just kind of dipping in and out.
Yes.
Long-term sustainable impact. But we do that more to help raise awareness and like just to inspire people to kind of like tell stories when they go back home to like their friends and family and say, "Oh, we did this trip. Did you know how poor some of these villages are? Why don't you help donate or something, or why don't you contribute in whatever way you can?" And that kind of really resonates, I guess, with people. And hence the kind of like LinkedIn stuff, the like that award thing, a bit random. So so I was like, just like people like to see this. I think like caring vicariously through someone else is always good. So they can see someone else at Expedia. So my colleagues at Expedia really like, and probably like most of the likes were from my colleagues. Anyway, so they're thinking, yeah, we're proud to be part of a company that cares about community and cares about these kind of things. So yeah.
And people feel, I guess, when they're liking your picture, they're feeling like they're contributing. They're feeling like they're doing their little bit.
Yeah, I think it's true, right? So everyone, like every like kind of has some sort of a little bit of an emotional connection, right? So this whole kind of social media chasing likes and stuff like that is just a little bit like that. But I think, yeah, people were sharing is the most powerful thing, right? So you can share it to your own network, and being able to kind of get a sense of like pride behind that in yourself because you contributed in some way. But yeah,
this is the good part. Yeah, this is the good bit of social media. You know, like there's a lot of like negative aspects to it, but that's the beautiful bit of it. You know, it's being able to share experiences, stories, make people aware of things they're not aware of. I really like that. What do you think about getting rid of likes?
Yeah, it's a bit of an ongoing conversation, right? So I think yeah, we can't comment too much, but like my personal view is that I see there's merit because like I see a lot of like kids
of what, getting rid of it or keeping it.
Yeah, both, a bit of both, right? So I think it's from a kind of tracking perspective, then people like to see how posts are going and things like that. I think from a like a perspective of the younger kids and stuff like that who are just now all focused on chasing likes, which becomes a bit unhealthy. So there's kind of arguments for both, but yeah, just my own personal view.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure. It's funny because the hardest thing is, sorry, go on.
From your business perspective, right? So you post a lot of great content. So if you didn't have the likes, then how would you track engagement or like if you're doing the right thing, if this is the right thing to
Well, the likes don't have to be public.
True, yeah.
So I think for me, on content and different platforms, we use different platforms for different things. So our Instagram, so my company Instagram is about our like our culture, our values, you know, our community. So sharing stuff like that, and that's Instagram. LinkedIn, we're doing you know, relevant content for our audience. So you know, it's recruitment, leadership, coaching, you know, things like that. And then we use Facebook as well, although it's not as a popular platform for us. And we use Twitter too. So we've got like slightly different strategies for different platforms. The likes, I don't know. The likes are for ego. It almost feels like.
Right. Okay.
You know, like look how many likes we've had on. Because for me, I'm honestly just trying to concentrate on giving relevant content to my audience. For work, from a work perspective. But it's really hard. Like I can't just post and run as much as I try. I post, I pretend I've run, but then I'm always interested to see how many people have liked or how many people are viewing this, right? I've got the stats, like live stats going on, and we're going to check back in a few days, and it'll make us feel good to know that, you know, 7, 8, 10,000 people have enjoyed our conversation. So it's interesting. I don't know where I fall on it. Maybe let me know how many people have liked it, but maybe externally, I don't know. Yeah, it's a very interesting conversation, and I think it's also because I mean, I was listening to I can't remember who was talking about it at the advertising week, but with Instagram, influencers got paid. I can't remember who the guy was. He had a platform anyway. Influencers have been paid historically a lot of money to promote products on Instagram. So, but as the brand, you've got no idea how many relevant people are looking at it, right? So you'd be like, oh wow, my post got 1 million views or 1 million likes, but that doesn't mean a million people that want to buy your product has liked the post, right? Whereas now with kind of, let's say, micro influencers or maybe affiliate marketing, which is similar, they can pay micro influencers for branded content, right? And with your Instagram buy thing or whatever it's called, you can actually pay micro influencers per purchase, if I'm correct. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not
I think
sure
that's how it's going. I think that's how it's going, which is really interesting. And I think that's because, you know, you might get like, I don't know, 100 likes on one picture. But because there are 100 relevant people, you might get 100 sales versus less on. I think the whole game's changing a little bit, and I'll be, obviously you can't comment on it, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting space. A lot going on.
Very interesting space. Awesome. Well, Jason, we've done like 40 minutes.
It's flown by.
Which is great. I think we've got one last question before we sign out.
Yeah.
Although we should do another one soon. So Michael, liking is a very quick way to share content with your network if you cannot find the time to add a comment.
Yeah, that's a good point, Michael. I think with the way the algorithms work, then you click a like and then people will see that you like it, depending on the platform. So I think LinkedIn does that a lot. So I can see what everyone's liked from a business and professional perspective. So
yeah,
good point.
LinkedIn does work like that. I don't think Facebook works like that. Does Facebook work like that? If I like your picture, does it come up in? Do my followers see I've liked it?
It can.
It can do. Okay. And then Instagram, I'm not sure either.
In a different part of the feed there is, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Fine. And we have one more as well. One more question. All right. Mitchell Cripps. We'll finish with Mitchell. At what point did you start to change the narrative from coping with lockdown and the pandemic and focus more on some of the positive implications for what the new normal are? And what was the catalyst for you personally to reposition the story?
Good question, Mitchell.
Yeah, very good question. Maybe that was directed at me. I'm not sure.
Go for it.
But let me kick off with that. So what was your point? So when did I change the narrative from coping with the lockdown to panic? So it's kind of like similar to, like, in your mind, surviving or thriving, I think. And for me, it's all like perspective, right? So the way I think of it is, you know, the pandemic happened. There's nothing I could have done about it. My business, the sales went down. They could have gone up in other industries, but like an external thing happened, and the only thing that I could do was choose how I thought about it, and I could choose how I responded. I could choose what I thought of it, and so for me, and I think maybe my brain is wired this way, but I always think positively about things, and so I just took a breath, I paused. And I thought, and I just looked around and tried to assess the situation and thought, what could I do? What little things can I do to improve the situation and stuff? And for me, it really helps me. So that's my mindset. The new normal, I'm like, maybe it might sound strange, but I'm really excited for what's to come. For me, change is good. It creates new energy. This is, on the positive side, enabled me as a business owner to think about my business, think about what else we can do, what's been working, what's not. During the pandemic, we introduced a new service, which is executive leadership coaching, which has been great. We've been able to really focus on making sure our customer service is impeccable. So things like that. So in my mind, the story has always been, like, how can we thrive in the new normal? How can we? So I don't know if that answers your question, Mitchell. And he's asked another one saying both of you. So why don't we end with with Jason? So
yeah, I think
when have you switched from coping to focusing on the positive implications?
Yeah, I think Singapore is in this kind of funny situation. So we're in like what I call the circuit breaker, effectively in lockdown for the past few months or couple months, and that's about to be lifted this week, this weekend. So it's a very interesting time because like now everyone's like getting excited about going out and stuff like that. So that's probably given like some sort of physical impetus to like that encouragement or that positivity. For me personally, like at the beginning, I was like, I wasn't doing too well. I was like not very used to working from home and just not having that social interaction, and seeing like that energy around the office was really good for me. So I enjoy kind of being around people. Some of the things that we've been doing at work is just like having these random work like work lunches together or virtual lunches together, and creating kind of a bit of a show around that and just connecting through that. So for me, that the positivity is like that probably would never have happened if this kind of situation hadn't arisen. And then that's allowed me to kind of like have deeper connections and kind of build those relationships with some people across the business. So I think that's been a real positive aspect for me, which is kind of helped me transition out of this. So Mitchell, to your point, I would just like just finding something that resonates with you and just kind of helps drive you. And for me, it was like kind of people and networks and community, and then just kind of create that in a virtual environment and see if we can kind of go over that. And it is a weird situation because now all my friends are like, "Oh, let's go out this weekend because now we can go out." I've got kind of a bit of social anxiety. I'm like, I haven't seen a human being for no sense of like human interaction for like 2 months. I'm like, oh, what am I gonna? What should I wear? What should I talk about? It's like a bit weird. Yeah.
It is crazy. And also I'd say as well, like it's perspective as well. So we've both had very different like lockdown experiences, let's say. So for me, my wife's been working in the NHS. My kids have both been at school. So I've been out and about. You know, I've been dropping my kids off at school. My wife has been working in intensive care, so you get kind of first-hand accounts of what's really going on. So, and I'm also like, I love people. I love like face-to-face contact, right? I'm an extrovert and I get a lot of energy from it. And so I think I would have found it a lot harder had I not been out the house.
Yeah.
And the thing I've had to learn to appreciate is everyone's had a different experience as well. But yeah, no, I think it's interesting. The other one thing I would say also, just to say, is once you start to, so for us, we've just started to like, you know, the searches we were doing that were paused have restarted. We've had a little bit of new work this week. Like it's the little shoots of recovery are starting to spring, and you just jump on that, and then suddenly your energy levels just shoot up, and then you just it's almost like a little snowball, right? And like, you know, but it's these little, to your point, these little things of positivity, like if you jump on them, they start to build up.
Yeah. And like just amazing kudos to your wife as well, and all the kind of people on the front line, so just working so hard during this time. So I really appreciate it from like deep down in my heart.
No, thank you. And it's just, you know, to round it all up, it's in times like this where the communities pull together. And the wonderful thing in my area is, you know, like there's Facebook groups, there's WhatsApp groups for people that need help, or a messaging saying, "Hey, can I get your food?" And so, yeah, like that's a really beautiful thing, I think, from this is that community feeling. Because in a city like London, and I guess Singapore too, although there's so many people, it can be quite lonely. You might not know your neighbors. They might not even have time to speak to you. Whereas in lockdown, I know all my neighbors now. I've actually spoken to them for more than like, "Hey, what's up?" You know, I'm actually like, "How you doing? What's going on?" And, you know, found out. So that's been a really positive thing.
Yeah, amazing.
Cool. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Enjoy going out with your friends this weekend.
Thank you.
Keep your distance, of course.
Yeah, likewise, and all the best to you and your family, and everyone
Thank
out
you.
there.
And
to
you.
the audience. Thank you.
See ya.
Good. Take care. Bye.